A man has died after a police taser was used during an incident in Wales, and police say that he was arrested but became unresponsive and was pronounced dead at the scene. A woman caught up in the incident near Caerphilly also died, and the use of aftershock weapons by police has increased by 60% over the last 5 years, according to recent government figures. Well, joining us now to discuss the issue is investigative journalist Tony Gosling. Tony, we obviously cannot comment about this specific case, but despite a significant increase, deaths are very rare, aren't they, as a result of taser use?
Yes, Bill, but if I'd have shot a taser at somebody today and killed them, I would have expected to be being charged immediately pretty much with manslaughter. Now, let's go back to the 1990s. Remember before 9/11, because a lot has changed since then with this kind of thing. What was happening was the cattle prods, which were being sold by companies like British Aerospace around the world, these were similar sorts of voltage devices, we're talking about 50,000 volts or so, were being banned by Robin Cook, Defence Secretary, from sale to places like Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. What I think we're seeing here is the kinds of equipment which was originally designed to be used in a slaughterhouse to prod cattle and move them around, actually being translated into some kind of a weapon. We've also had strange anomalies in the figures. In the United States, Amnesty International is saying that there's been roughly 500 deaths so far directly attributable to tasers. But in the last 10 years here in Britain, only 10. Now, I did a little quick check and found that actually there were 2 people last year that died from tasers in the same week. So I suspect that the figures are being massaged to make these weapons look less lethal than they are. And I think they are actually, what's happened now is that slowly but surely, since the 9/11 attacks, we've seen the arming of the British police with these lethal weapons. Actually, effectively, a taser is a license to kill.
You raise a point there by referring to 9/11, and now, of course, here we are in 2014 with a terror alert very high in this country. Isn't the increased use of tasers justified?
Well, no, I don't think it is, and neither do Amnesty. They say that, particularly in the US and in the UK, there's far too much use of the tasers against, for example, the mentally ill. I mean, we've seen some incredible incidents. For example, a blind man being tasered, a naked man being tasered, someone who doused themselves with petrol, then being tasered, and of course the sparks from the taser set them on fire and flames. Someone who was being strip searched, also tasered. I just don't think that there's anywhere near enough accountability over the use of these weapons. There's a doctor in the United States, Dr. Zipes, who's done a particular study at the way that these high voltages, 50,000 volts is what most of these tasers use, but in the United States they're available in something like 2.5 million volts tasers, and they obviously interfere with the heart. Basically what happens is if you get tasered, it can very easily stop your heart, and it's really just a matter of luck as to whether it's going to start again. I'd like to see these things completely withdrawn. I don't think that, that it's appropriate to have the sort of technology which was developed for use in slaughterhouses on our streets, and for police to be able to fire them, apparently, as it seems, with impunity, because very few people have confidence in the Police Complaints Commission's ability to do their job, not just on this subject, and on many others, particularly deaths in custody, Bill.
All right, just very briefly, you mentioned the United States there. Aren't tasers preferable, though, and safer to have in this country than the armed police we see in the United States, carrying arms the entire time?
Well, no, because I think actually what's happening is it's a stealthy way of arming the police, and a similar sort of thing in the that's been going on in the US. The real problem here, Bill, ultimately, is that it erodes trust in the police. There will be people who think, like the mother of the guy that died of a taser recently in Manchester, that she wished she'd never called the police. If you think that the police are going to turn up with one of these 50,000 volt stun guns and possibly use them, then you're going going to start questioning, is it a good idea to call the police? And I think that's a really dangerous position to be in. So essentially what we've got now is we've got armed police by stealth. I think that's extremely dangerous. The other thing, of course, is that the use of these is rising almost exponentially. They're being deployed and not used quite a lot, but we're seeing 2,000 times a year these devices being used now in the UK, and the figure is rising all the time. I think a brave chief constable around the country needs to say, that's enough, we're going to stop using these, we'll use old-fashioned methods like getting handcuffs on people.
Tony Gosling, investigative journalist, live here on RT UK. Thanks very much indeed for your thoughts. There have been violent clashes on the streets of Brussels as protesters have tried to take over the city. An estimated 100,000 people marched against the government's austerity measures.